behind a curtain, pulling strings, where every truth's a
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's good to be back. You may have noticed, but Science and I have been on an extended hiatus, but we're back. And for those of you who are new to the channel, thanks for joining. The show is Science versus Conspiracy over Coffee. I'm your host, Citizen Paranoid, aka Bob, and science is still on assignment. Artificial intelligence continues to push the boundaries, blurring the lines of what is real. AI has gone beyond simple image generation using descriptive text prompts. AI is now able to generate video and audio almost indistinguishable from reality. Brew some coffee, pull up a chair, and open your mind. Today on Science versus Conspiracy, I'm joined by Michael Cloggs and James, and we'll dive deep into the ethics of artificial intelligence over coffee. We'll be right back. I would like to welcome a couple of guests to the show. First, we have James. He's a journalist for the Langara Voice newspaper in Vancouver. And I would like to welcome Michael Cloggs back to the show. Let's jump right in. Artificial intelligence. Michael, we've talked about this on the show in the past, and even from 6 months to a year ago, AI has advanced beyond anything that I could even possibly imagine. In preparing for the show this week, I went down a rabbit hole, an AI rabbit hole, and found some of the most mind-boggling examples of image, video, and audio generation out there. And I'll play some for you at the end of the show. This question goes out to both of you. What is your reaction to some of the stuff you've been seeing created by AI?
Well, actually, no, I haven't, but I've been watching more of how the question about the copyrights coming up. And I had some really long-term questions about if we keep developing a artificial intelligence, at what point does it become sentient? Where it
Right.
could own itself, right? And it just a question that popped into my head as I was getting ready to come onto the show. But as far as using it is concerned, we use a lot of AI in editing because the artificial intelligence can filter out things that even a digital filter cannot get rid of because it has the ability to recognize patterns and learn from different patterns so that it can take a screeching car separate away from a voice that of a person that I was interviewing, and which is a great tool for doing things like documentaries and things like that, where in one scene of our film that it will be coming out soon, one person was at Holland Park and the SkyTrain went by. Well, what do you think is louder, their voice or the SkyTrain? So SkyTrain's pretty damn loud, right? And I was able to filter out the SkyTrain, or at least bring it down so that you could hear their voice over. In artistically, you want to decide how much of the background you want to get rid of and how much of the foreground you want to bring out. So we use a lot of AI for things like that, and we use a lot of AI to clean up images and things like that so that it looks more presentable.
Yeah,
So
and to answer your question, because you brought up a very interesting question about when will it become sentient, and I actually did a bit of research into this like a couple of weeks ago, and I found an article by Kate Crawford. She is the AI researcher at Microsoft, and she break it down on why we as a society misunderstand the current AI trend, because the current AI is not the same AI as most people understand from pop culture. It's not Skynet. The current AI is something more like VI, which is virtual intelligence. It's a subsection of AI. The main difference is that the AI that we used to know in pop culture can self-learn and self-improve. It can make its own decision. It's sentient.
Yes.
The VI that we currently have cannot do that. It just gives you an answer based on what it was trained. And granted, it is like, like OpenAI is very smart because it is trained on like a lot of data, but it cannot go past that barrier to like making its own decision. It's still just like giving you answers based on like an amalgamation of like millions of other people's answers. And I think that is the main difference. But like people keep using the word AI for like marketing reason, when it's like, it's not in Kate Crawford's words, AI is neither artificial nor is it intelligence, at least not at the moment.
Right. That's an important thing to actually know.
And the VI, is that related to the AGI, like the artificial general intelligence, where they're trying to there's like this threshold for AGI that when the processes of the AI become more powerful than the human's ability to process information, and that time frame, it was supposed to be like 30 years into the future. Like a couple of years ago, they were predicting it 30 years into the future, and then like every month it drastically shrinks down, and now they're predicting early in 2025, if it hasn't already been taken place. There's some researchers with OpenAI that have claimed that it may have already hit that point, being able to just reason better than humans and do tasks better than humans. And yeah,
I think it is a bit difficult to say because right now I think there are a way. Well, I think the process for the development of AI has like greatly accelerated because everyone is like hopping on it. And like even companies like graphic cards companies or the great processor like AMD and NVIDIA are like making they're making their products cater specifically for AI training. So I think those things have like greatly accelerated, as you said. But I forgot to answer your question earlier, which is that I have experiments with some of the OpenAI in Midjourney myself as well. And one thing I noticed is that I think we have at the moment hit a plateau where the AI cannot get much better than this at the moment. And I'm not sure how long this will last, but I think there are many factors that contribute into this problem, one of which is the pushback of AIs from a lot of creators online, where people are like, for creative stuff like art, people are like using a lot of methods to like counter like companies or other people taking their products and use it for AI training. And all of this like countermeasure is like ruining the training data for AIs. And when you open ChatGPT right now, ChatGPT version 4, and you ask it to generate image, you can say that it's not as impressive as it was like about a year or two ago when everything was still fresh. And I think this is the consequence of people like are afraid of the copyrighted issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and using not just the copyright, but the image, the intellectual property of like celebrities, or like doing deep fakes, but to the next level. I've seen a lot of videos with like Donald Trump and Kamala Harris being together, and like interacting, kissing, and like that type of thing. Yeah. Um, so it brings up like that whole, not just copyright, but can we legally use the likeness of famous people, and what constitutes famous people?
Because one of our products is does involve audiobooks. Amazon right now will not allow a AI generated voice onto Audible.
Hmm.
Because of it's simply because the copyright issue. It's like, who actually owns it? I know at one point, as a professional fashion model, my image was copyrighted. They had different pictures of me that were actually copyrighted, listed in the Copyright Office in the United States. That if you used it, you had to pay me first.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's that's always been kind of an issue. If you use a famous person's image, and we're going to we're going to change the term of famous to someone who gets paid for their image to be up in print. Um, if you use a famous person's image, at what point should you have to pay them for what you're using it for? And at
Mm-hmm.
what point does that person actually have the right to say, hey, that is not what I'm about, and take it down?
Yeah, and yeah, it really blurs that line, because right now it's so easily made. Like before, you had to do some really fancy Photoshop work, or actually take a picture of these people and manipulate it somehow. But you don't even need that anymore. You can go to one of those AI generating image websites and type in whoever you want, and it's going to spit out an image that, depending on which one you're using, it's going to look almost like realistic, like the person.
I wanted to ask something because you mentioned when Amazon said that, it reminds me that some other service has tried to like combat AI, like what we call is like or like what I know the term is called is like shovelware, which is like um someone would just grab like free access and in the past, and now they would just use generative AI to put in a lot of like free asset, just clump them up into like a really cheap product and put it online to sell, like audiobooks,
Yeah.
video games, art, etc. And I've seen that people try to combat this by saying that, which I want to touch on, like, which is like the ethical use of AI, which is, have either of you heard of a YouTube channel called Corridor Digital? They are a American-based like VFX team. They make like YouTube. They make like short, funny videos with like a lot of VFX work put into it, and they try to like simplify visual effects for beginners or like for the general audience, so that more people feel like more people can be inspired and get into VFX a lot better. It's an entry way, and they have done a short series called like animated rock paper scissors, where they use the entire thing is made by generative AI. And they are one of the few people that actually came up with the idea to use AI ethically to make their content, which is that they hire an artist and you and pay that artist to make an entire like library of data, like character models with different angles and stuff like that, and use that data set to train their AI and create an entire like two part, and they are making a third part in the future of like just this like animated series that is like very like interesting to look, and like and they say that themselves that like a whole bunch of like 5, 6, 7 people who has never drawn before could make an amazing like animated show like this. It was such a godsend, like a creative like godsend to them, that they had always wanted to do it, but they couldn't never like they couldn't draw before, and now they can do it. And yeah, like I think that what they did is like what the like every industry should push to do, like give people copyright. Not only that, but like pay people to do the data set instead of just scraping it online for free.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Definitely have to check out some of their videos on that. Yeah, and that brings up a kind of a good point about like in journalism, when you writing the article, or you getting AI to write the article. And obviously I think there is like a cut and dry. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Definitely have to check out some of their videos on that. Yeah, and that brings up a kind of a good point about like in journalism, when you writing the article, or you getting AI to write the article. And obviously I think there is like a cut and dry what's ethical and what's not ethical in that situation. But when you break it down even further than that, doing spell check, or using the thesaurus at different levels, depending on if you're using Microsoft Word or Pages or Google Docs or any number of document creating apps, they have varying levels of spell check. And there's like Grammarly that uses AI to scan through your document and make sure that your grammar is correct on there. Where do you think that line gets blurred? Like what's a good, I guess, is that ethical to be using even spell check or Grammarly when you're writing, when you are being paid to write an article for a newspaper?
You're kind of hitting the defense mechanism there, because I'm extremely dyslexic. And without that spell check, because spell check actually goes back, the very first versions of spell check goes back to like before 1990. And where some computer engineer came up with this idea of, hey, what if we did something that we could flag misspell words, depending on the dictionary that it actually has inside of itself. Okay, so, and I jumped on board on that right away in university. It's like, hey, this will help a lot, because of the dyslexia, where misplaced words or dangling words, they just, or words that never appeared, and I thought I put them in there, but they weren't actually there. So if it's going to help somebody to create improve their voice, then we should be moving in that direction with spell check, Grammarly, whatever that is, right? Something that totally creates that you type in a subject matter, thus is like the ethical use of AI, and then you go ask the AI program to create a whole entire article, just write the whole thing itself, and you're being paid for it. That might be a problem, because you only you used a program to create something that wasn't really your thoughts, because you're actually being paid for your own thoughts.
So to take that to the next, I just want to jump in here, James, and then I'll let you, because I know I want to get your answer on this. But it was interesting what you said about being paid to do something and have a computer program do it for you. What's the difference between that and doing something in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop when you can lay a newspaper or a book or magazine out the old-fashioned way and cutting it all up and making the plates and everything, because in that way the computer program is assisting in the process in this, I think, in the same way that you're using spell check. James. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there before I forgot about it. But what's your take on like spell check and Grammarly and that type of thing? And does it relate to like what I'm saying about Photoshop?
I think to answer both of your questions, right? I think it's just we're just going to another phase of like development, because like I want, like, I think, what is the difference between going to spell check and check for your grammar, and then, or like just going to your peer and say, hey, can you check this paper for me for like grammatical error? I don't think there's much difference. It still serves the same purpose. Even if you dates back like hundreds and thousands of years ago, like why would you harvest an entire field of rice with a scythe when you can use large machinery? Is that cheating? I don't think so. I think people just have to accept that. Oh well, I guess it's because the cat is out of the bag now with AI. People just have to accept it will happen. I think the line is very blurry, depends on what field you are in, but taking advantage, like rather than shy away from using AI, I think people should in a way embrace it, but not like over reliance on it. Like, they shouldn't write an entire article in AI and submit it and get paid. But like maybe it could help with brainstorming, or it could help with the structure of the article, and then you can fill in the blank yourself. Make it an extension of yourself. Make it another tool in your repertoire. And I think incorporate it into your workflow, and I think it will be like much more beneficial, and like you won't have to be afraid that you will be left behind or lose your job as much, I would say.
Yeah. I just had this crazy thought. As far as like human development is concerned, what if we were to turn back the clock, say 10,000 years or more, right? And the first human being, whether he was human, which is Homo erectus or Homo sapien, however you want to go at it, right? In early stages of human development, what if the very first person who developed a spear was shamed into throwing the spear away and never using it again? Where would we be? So AI, if you're using AI, my point is this: if you're using AI as a tool, and you're using it to enhance what it is that you're doing, there's nothing really wrong with that, right? Because eventually, I've seen some videos from out of Japan where they have some robot or something like that they can actually build an entire house. He's got all the hammers, all that sort of stuff, and that robot is now going to build the house rather than a team of people building it. But he's still a tool, because you have to know how to program the robot to do what it's supposed to do, to follow that blueprint, right?
So are we more afraid of the AI or progress or automation? Because it seems like we're afraid of the automation part of it rather than having these tools available to us, because of, like James said, with making the rice picker back in the day, it was a tool to make life easier, and spell check is a tool to make writing go by faster for us, and used in the right way, in Photoshop, the generative fill or some of Midjourney, using some of these tools I think can only enhance the creativity and the workflow of what we're doing.
I think what I'm afraid of personally is in the automation aspect of AI. What I am really afraid of is cooperation, because a lot of the things that is right now are a lot of the concerns, like you said, like the writer strike in Hollywood, and I'm sure there are a few more around the world as well that is similar to the writer strike. People having concerns of their of everything that they've done being just get into AI and being like made for free, because a lot of corporations, it has the very like for-profit mindsets, because that's what they need to do. Like that part is fine, but they are trying to take advantage of, I think, of this like development, and we are still way too early on for there to be like any laws or any like regulation to keep everyone in check. And that is why I think like a lot of the social concerns are like stemming from, which is people trying to take advantage of it to make more profit, to cut having to pay people, and etc. etc.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that completely. And actually, it's funny because, love him or hate him, Elon Musk, he's on one side of things, he's really pro automation and all this new technology with his self-driving cars and the AI. But then on the other hand, he talks about the doom of humanity in this recent article that I just read, about because he was one of the co-founders of the OpenAI project, and then he left, and now they're a for-profit company rather than strictly for research and nonprofit. So he's looking at regulations to kind of be wary of AI, I guess, getting in the wrong hands.
He's starting to remind me of Bill Gates on something with this now. How many people out there remember shareware? And to be totally honest with you, if you're under 55, you're probably not good. That's probably the threshold where you're not going to remember shareware. You're not going to remember when the internet itself was free. And along came Bill Gates over a program that he wrote. It was either some sort of Excel version of Excel or version of Word. We're going to use modern terms because it wasn't actually called that way back then. He came up with those terms later on. It was over something like that, where somebody had done something, took it as a shareware, and had turned it into some sort of a better product. And that was one of the first lawsuits into creating copyrights in software. Because before that, software was like, hey, let's just see what we can do with things. Program a computer to do something. So we're gonna see that if we don't, the AI industry, the development industry, doesn't learn to regulate and work together themselves, then we will have court cases and government step in and do it for us. And is that always going to be the best way to go? um, do we want the government to step in and take over and tell us what to do with it, or do we want to freely keep developing it so that it becomes a valuable tool in our society without large corporate profits?
Yeah, but then without the large corporate profits, how fast does all this stuff die? Because there isn't, whether we like it or not, everything comes down to dollars and cents, and we all have to put a roof over our heads and put food in ourselves. So we have to make money at something. So if you take out the large corporate backings, how does it go any further than that?
Yeah, actually,
That's a good question.
yeah, I think to go on a little bit of a tangent, because I think this what you mentioned is in the same vein, which is that Google recently is like being cracked down on being holding a monopoly, because everyone use Google Chrome, and they own like 99.9 or so, like 99 something. Don't quote me on that, but like a massive, like overwhelming majority of the market share, and they are being accused that okay, they are holding a monopoly, like essentially. And this is generating them a lot of revenue, because if everyone uses the search engine, they can sell that to third-party advertiser, yada yada yada. And then what the government is trying to say is that Google, you have to sell Chromium, which is the base that created Google Chrome, and that you have to break it down. But like the problem with that is that Chromium is developed by Google. So if now they sell Chromium and they are not allowed to own Chromium anymore, then they don't have an incentive to develop the browser that we use for internet anymore, because it's not their responsibility. It's not they don't make money from this, so why would they? And I think that would actually like that is a major concern right now, that if Google is removed from the playing field, then progress on like browser development would go into a halt.
Yeah.
And that is a major concern. Like, are we just gonna hope that all the companies is gonna pick up the slack, or like is it gonna get worse or better for that? I
Well,
think that
there has been a counter argument for that, and when we look at the 1990s with the deregulation of and the antitrust suit that was filed by MCI against AT&T. AT&T still to the day is one of the biggest developers in communication tools. They didn't actually give it up; they split it up. So, and I can see Google doing the same thing, that they don't actually give it up; that they split it up, and so that their shareholders actually still make money, and that's the whole point. So for their shareholders to make the money they're supposed to.
Yeah, and I see like what James is saying about the development of it, because if it does get sold off, or even to some extent, even if it is split up and the shareholders still have a portion or some control over it, it's not going to be as integrated, and it's not going to be the level of integration and functionality is that we've been used to. I think that'll take a huge hit, and it might even Chrome might lose a number of subscribers or not subscribers, but users of Chrome lose subscribers of their Google Workspace platform. Because right now you can load up Google Chrome, and if you pay for Google Workspace, then everything is so integrated and works well. And if Chrome, if they lose that functionality with Chrome, then that could be a huge hit to their other platforms, like their other services. I mean, like from everything from search to workspaces.
Well, I mean, yes, to be fair, I wanted to like get us back on track a bit, which is that I brought up that whole point just to
Yep.
mean that, yeah, I think it might apply to AI as well, where
Mhm.
if governments step in and regulate things, it might cause a similar effect. But and and this might actually halt the progress of development of
Mhm.
like this new, like I think like new, like really wonderful tools. And like I think that is a very valid concern, and like there's no easy answer. I think there's like both sides to the argument.
Mhm. Yeah, there's no easy answers for any of this. But and kind of just going back to like the ethical part of it, and I'm glad that you're trying to keep us on track, because I'm not doing a good job of keeping us on track for this. But the whole thing with AI is it's being trained. All the different companies like Midjourney and OpenAI and all the rest of them, they all have a data set that they're being trained to do. And where I'm kind of struggling with this whole thing is us humans, we grow, we grow up, we go to school, we learn, we're trained, we make decisions based on prior knowledge, and then we learned to go to school for journalism, for instance, and we learn how to write. And at the end of it, we come out better writers and better reporters. You go to art school and you become a better commercial artist, or you become a doctor. Where I'm going with this is that we're being fed in all these data sets from all these different aspects of our life. And when we're asked to do something, we spit out whatever it is, a news article, or we do surgery on somebody to fix their spleen, or whatever it is. I don't see. I'm having a hard time seeing the difference between that and having an AI do a very similar thing. Because I guess there's kind of three things going on here. There's AI, AGI, and then robotics, and they're all kind of headed in a collision course, that AI becomes sentient, and the technology for robotics, like with Tesla's Optimus, or Boston Dynamics Atlas, and there's a few others out there that are really close to being mimicking human capabilities. So when you have these three things all combined, I guess at one point do we have to start paying the computer rather than the person to do tasks? And I guess that's where this whole ethical argument of, should we be pushing for regulation into AI? But if you say yes, then say monkeys start acting like they do in the Planet of the Apes. Would we suppress like monkeys or other animals with moving forward with like higher intelligence? would we like stunt their growth as a species? So are we stunting the growth of AI as a new species? And should we look at it that way rather than as a computer program, or as a computer? Should we be looking at it more like it's another animal on the planet?
That's okay. You can go ahead, Michael.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there.
Because I'm a big, Bob knows this. I'm a big sci-fi fan, and some of the things in sci-fi, it isn't a matter of is it possible or not possible sort of thing. It is a safe way of addressing a moral issue, and that particular moral issue has been a question for a very long time. For most of my youth, is if we go too far with robotics and computer development, and we combine all those things together, is that computer, should we be paying that computer? Is that computer going to take away a job? Is that robot going to take somebody's job away? Or should we be training a person to be able to use that computer and robotics as a tool to get a job done in a more timely manner? And it's a huge question, and it's one I don't think that the only way to they drive at it is, what questions should we be asking and what questions shouldn't we be asking? Because the more questions we take off the table, the more of a direction we can go with it. And that's one of the danger points of corporate control, is they remove questions so that we never get to ask them. So that it becomes more of they're able to move forward in a direction, rather we know what direction they're going or not. So what questions should we be asking? What questions should we be removing from the table? And what is best for human development in those questions? So we have more questions than we do answers.
For every question we answer, there's like 10 more questions that branch out from it, right? And I mean, I think the question that you asked has been asked a lot in media, from like even back in the 2000s, right? We've seen a lot of literature, a lot of stuff related to it, even in sci-fi, like Star Trek has asked this about the human right question for artificial intelligence before. We have seen literature like "I have no mouth and I must scream." Is one of my all-time favorite, I would say. Where they ask like just how the dangers of just having AI, just like in more popular ones like Skynet and stuff like that, where I think, well, me personally, I think sci-fi are sci-fi for a reason. I don't think we would, well, I shouldn't say that we wouldn't make it to that point. I think it's a possibility, but I don't think it will happen. I would like to believe we humans have are good enough as at precaution to prevent that from ever happening, hopefully. But besides that, I want to go back to a bit earlier in your question, when like we are in a way kind of similar to AI. We are being fed like data, and then we are responding based on the training we do. And I mean, I think I have had that same thought before as well. And it's, yeah, I think it's a bit, I can see how a lot of people would see things the same way as you do, and as I do as well. It's just that I think I've had the privilege of talking to some people who like are more well versed in AI, the field of AI or like technology than I am, and the way that they explain to me is that the way AI learns is like fundamentally different from human, and they in that way I think it's like I don't think it's like easy to say like, okay, just because the results are sort of like the same as us, we shouldn't equate it to how a human thought process work. And as such, like, yeah, we shouldn't compare one to one, and like, yeah, like you shouldn't be compared to your tools in, like, at least right now, because until we reach the point of sentience, the current AIs should be treated as tools, and not, yeah, things like, and as Michael said, like we cut down on too many questions, and otherwise we would be thinking forever and not actually have a direction to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to agree with you that right now AI should be a tool, and in that tool development, in some directions, should be like a writing tool, writers groups should be putting input into what is going to make that the most fantastic tool possible, so that the writer can use it to come up with beautiful art and information, for us. And the same thing in image industries is like, how can we have more input into it? It's the same thing with like leading back to building the house. The that carpenters developed the hammer. They had input in how this blacksmith would forge a hammer so that it was the most useful thing possible, the pounding a nail. and for that matter, also the development of the nail and the screw. How did that come about? Is like the person who is actually going to be using it had input into that development. It's like, I mean, it seems overly simplistic, but it is part of the process that the person using it should have input into how it's developed, so that it's developed so they can use it to make the best products they can.
And I think that goes back to what James was saying earlier about that YouTube channel, that they hired an artist to put together those assets, and then use those assets for a wide variety of purposes. But it's the fact that they hired a professional to create the right assets to train it.
And one thing to add to that, the reason why I think that is very important, not only for like ethical purpose, but like it actually has is actually a great incentive for companies to do that, because it actually create a significantly better quality product, especially in the field of like like more like film or art, because when you train AIs in the same way that most people do now, especially in that field, the image you generate has like it kind of like amalgamates into a very like generic AI style, because it is an amalgamation of like so many people's style, so it has to like it converges somewhere, and then it looks very generic. But when you pay someone with a distinct style and you train data on that specific person, the results you get is it's significantly better and more unique when you create like a film with this sort of thing. You will have like one very like distinct style throughout the movie without compared to like like if you just do more generic, then the style can change back and forth, or like it will create a lot of inconsistency that looks like really like it looked really bad, like really low quality. Like I think that is like one thing that people fail to realize, which is that AI is incredible, but like the use of like uh human handling certain aspect of AI, like post processing and like data training and stuff like that, still like extremely important. That companies are like, or like not just companies, but like a lot of people are ignoring. These aspects are what make like like amazing works stand out from the rest of the mediocre ones.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction. And I also think that it comes down to who's inputting the prompts, because anybody can open up a Word document and start typing and create a story, or paint a picture or whatever. Play the guitar and record it and sell it. Doesn't mean that it's any good, and I think that's where the professional comes in no matter what industry it is, that they're able to use these new tools to assist them in their chosen profession. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that it's going to be any good. So yeah, we're almost out of time, and I want to keep you guys too long. I said 15 minutes, and it's been like an hour, so I appreciate that. But one last question: should we be scared, James?
Depends on what you're scared for, I guess. I would say yes, but also I would say no if you are afraid of AI. But yeah, again, yes, if you are afraid of like job insecurity, I think it's kind of fair. But that is not the fault of AI. That is the fault of well, I'm hesitant to say because with like capitalism, I think that is where the fault lies in, rather than the AI. So yes, you should be scared, but you shouldn't be that scared. But rather than and to leave it on like a more positive note, try in like instead of shun away AI, like Michael said earlier, if like 10,000 years ago, if people shun the first guy who threw a spear, then where would we be now? Same things here. Instead of just shunning AI, try to like understand how it works, how you can try to figure out like it's so new. There are so many niche that you can find. Find a niche, find how you can incorporate it into your workflow, makes everything faster, more efficient. I think, yeah, there are still a lot of like room for humans right now and in the futures. So don't let like a new technology scare you away from doing what you love, or like doing what's best for you.
Right, fair enough. Michael, what do you think?
What I think people should be afraid of isn't the AI itself. It isn't the development of the AI. It is how the AI is going to be actually used. If we use AI as a tool to create beautiful things that inspire human thought to move forward in new in better directions, yay, let's do that, right? If AI is going to be used to control human thought so that we can only see down a narrow path and we can't see infinitely what is around us, then nay, we need to be afraid of that. That's our pitfalls. The AI needs to develop human help develop the human being to greater levels, and not be used to control us into narrow paths.
Unfortunately, we are all at a time, and we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. We're going to leave today with something that I created with AI over the last couple of days. Have a listen. Let us know what you think in the comments. Remember, being paranoid is smart. We'll see you next time.
And every question that it brings is met with silence-coated lies, a distant truth behind the eyes. The moon is just a silver light.
Today's episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Story Monkey Productions.